Well, head of Xbox Phil Spencer was very chatted today as he revealed some very interesting information about Xbox Game Pass, Call of Duty coming to other platforms, and whether or not Xbox might have to raise prices on consoles, games in the future. There's so much here to talk about, so let's get into it. What is going on, everybody? This is Randall419, the man with the million, back again with another video. I hope everybody's having a fantastic day. And if you can do me a huge favor, make sure you hit the like button. Please hit that subscribe button if you're new. We're almost at 90K. And check out the Patreon in the description. But man, I was planning on making another video today about the new Redfall trailer, about the news that Fallout 4 is getting an upgrade on Series X consoles next year, more games being announced for 2023, and I gotta say, 2023 is starting to shape up to maybe, and I use that word maybe, especially if everything hits and we get more games at the end of the year, to be one of, if not the best years in Xbox history. But I had to shift gears. We're going to be talking about all those things tomorrow, and I'm really excited to take a look at that Redfall trailer because it seems like the PR is starting to ramp up. I wonder if that game's going to be releasing sooner rather than later. I shifted today to talk about the one and only Phil Spencer, head of Xbox, as he gave an interview with the Wall Street Journal live on their platform. And he was asked a whole bunch of questions regarding the Xbox business, about Game Pass, about mobile, about the Activision Blizzard acquisition. And there's a whole bunch of interesting nuggets of info that we got here today. But I'm not sure Phil is yet 100% aware of what he did today, of how angry and sad he's made a certain group of fans on social media when it comes to Game Pass, because that has sort of been their calling card, the agenda that they push, that not only Game Pass is going to ruin the industry, but more specifically, how Game Pass doesn't make Microsoft any money. But wait a minute, I forgot, that narrative was destroyed a couple weeks ago because of the Brazil Commission, when we found out that Xbox makes around $3 billion for Game Pass. I forgot that those people had moved the goalpost in real time to, well, it may make some money and some revenue, but it's certainly not making any profit. Well, I gotta tell you guys, those characters, those personas, those people that had built their entire presence on social media around the idea of hating Xbox and Game Pass, well, they're not really having a great day today. So thanks to Tom Warren over at The Verge for writing down exactly what Phil was saying in this interview. And it starts off with, Phil Spencer says he now expects Xbox Game Pass to stay at around 10 to 15% of Microsoft's Xbox content and services revenue, and that, quote, it's profitable for us. Oh, Phil, you can't just come out and say the P word. You can't just come out and say in front of everybody that we're actually making profit from Xbox Game Pass, because all the talking pundits on Twitter and all the people in those Twitter spaces and all the people that run those PlayStation podcasts, man, they've been saying for a while how you're just burning money, how you ain't making any moolah whatsoever from Game Pass, and that maybe it might torpedo Xbox in the future because it's not turning a profit. But with one interview, all that's gone. These people are quite upset, and they're going to have to rethink a new agenda to push. And he goes on to say that Game Pass as an overall part of our content and services revenue is probably 15%. I don't think it gets bigger than that. I think the overall revenue grows, so 15% of a bigger number, but we don't have this future where I think 50 to 70% of our revenue comes from subscriptions, which I think makes a lot of sense, because last year Microsoft had made almost $17 billion in revenue, and when the Activision deal does go through, if it does go through, you add Activision's revenue on top of Xbox's, and you probably end up somewhere into like $24 billion. But all of Activision is like $8 billion, has nothing to do with Game Pass. So while Microsoft's overall revenue number is going to get bigger when you add in Diablo and you add in Call of Duty and all the money they make from King and those things, the Game Pass revenue number is not going to grow to be 50% of that. It's going to stay 15%, but it's going to be 15% of a way bigger number than it currently is right now. And not everybody wants to sign up to Xbox Game Pass. Even though it's an incredible deal, some people would rather own their games. And Microsoft offers every single game that's in the service for purchase, and that's how some people are just going to want to engage with their games. And unless there's a future like Spotify where every single game is in Game Pass, if you want to play games like Gotham Knights or Dead Space or any of the huge games that are coming out relatively soon, well, you're going to have to purchase those because those won't be in that subscription service. Phil goes on to say that we're seeing incredible growth on PC. On console, I've seen growth slow down, mainly because at some point you've reached everybody on console that wants to subscribe. And when I talk about the goalpost being shifted in real time, this is one of those scenarios. We started with Game Pass is bad for the industry, nobody's actually subscribed, it doesn't make any money, right? And now those are all sort of been pushed to the side, and it was Game Pass isn't profitable. Now that goalpost has been moved because Phil says it is, and now we're on the goalpost being, or at least the agenda being, well, it's slowing down severely on console. I've seen someone say that on Twitter. Phil admits that it's slowing down severely, which it makes sense that it would start to slow down on console, that you've reached everybody that maybe wants to get it, and that's why it's important to push out the Xbox Series S to people. Satya Nadella during the financial call basically said that nearly half of the people that get a Series X are new to the Xbox ecosystem. I would imagine most people who own the Series X or a hardcore Xbox gamer have had Game Pass for a while, so their growth vector on console is probably going to be from new people that get the Series S. And I do think they'll see growth when Xbox decides to actually release some first-party titles. I've said it before and I'll say it again, 2022 is probably going to go down as one of the worst years in Xbox first-party history. It's all about those AAA experiences for some, and they didn't deliver this year. But if you're going into 2023 with Forza Motorsport and a Redfall and Starfield and Minecraft Legends and a Ghostwire Tokyo finally hitting the platform, and then Diablo 4 potentially is day one, and if you can have some more titles from first party hitting at the end of the year, like a Hellblade 2 or a Project Belfry or maybe an Avowed, you actually start to put out your own AAA content. I think more people will then start to subscribe, but really the growth is going to be all on the PC side, and that's where Bethesda with Starfield really comes in. And that's where really the acquisition of Activision Blizzard is going to make headways, because you just got Blizzard, one of the most prominent and celebrated PC developers out there, with World of Warcraft, Overwatch 2, and who knows, a whole bunch of unannounced titles coming to PC. And Microsoft just revealed that it saw PC Game Pass subscriptions increase by 159% year over year, and that more than 20 million people have streamed games on xCloud Gaming, up from 10 million earlier this year. PC looks like an obvious growth area for Microsoft, but there's always mobile too. Now, the 159% increase in Game Pass subscriptions on PC is an interesting one, but it's really hard to tell how big that number is when you don't know what number it's starting at. Personally, I think the Game Pass PC number is a low one, maybe 2 million. That's now increased to maybe 4 million, something around there, but I don't think we're at a scenario where it was 5 million and it increased 150%, so now it's above 10 million. I think their number was in the 1 to 2 million, and now it's increased because they're adding more value to PC Game Pass. But it may not be all good news, because earlier this year we saw that Sony decided to raise the price of their consoles worldwide except in the United States, and people had asked Microsoft and Nintendo if they were going to do the same, and they both said no, but they couldn't say no forever. Well, Phil was sort of asked this, and he said there's a possibility they may have to raise prices. His exact quote is this: "We've held price on our console, we've held price on our games, and our subscription. I don't think we'll be able to do that forever. I do think at some point we'll have to raise some prices on certain things, but going into this holiday, we thought it was really important that we maintain the prices that we have." Well, this is another talking point that is starting to develop. where they say, well, Game Pass can't be too profitable if they're going to raise the prices of the subscription. And I've been of the opinion that if you've been listening to this channel for a while, whether it's the videos or Xbox 2 podcasts with Jez, that I felt that Microsoft would raise the price of their games to $70 to match everybody else in the industry, that they would have some political pressure and the games cost more. And if you do raise prices to $70, it also raises the value of Game Pass. So I've always had it in my mind that when Starfield releases, I almost expect that game to launch at $70. And Xbox Game Pass, best value in gaming, really cheap. Console $10, PC $10, Ultimate, which gives you everything for $15. It's not going to stay that same price forever. At some point, it's going to go up. And they're in that user acquisition mode right now where the prices are low and they're trying to get everybody into the ecosystem, get them locked in, get them loving Game Pass and what it offers. And then at some point, like literally every subscription service on the face of the planet will increase its price as time goes on. I literally just got an email that Apple's raising its prices, Netflix is raising its prices, Disney Plus is raising its prices. These things constantly go up, whether it's inflation or other reasons, and eventually Game Pass is going to raise its price. Whether it's going to be a couple dollars or whether it's going to shift, regular Game Pass on consoles $15 and Ultimate's $20, at some point those prices will go up. But it's not a victory lap for these people to say, see, I told you they were lying to us. Prices will go up. It's like, yeah, no shit, Sherlock. You're such an economic genius with your macroeconomics and inflation. Nobody but you and your extensive educational background could have predicted the price of a subscription will raise at some point in the future. Give yourselves a round of applause. But you know what else I find absolutely fascinating is these people on social media that will be the first ones to come out and be like, don't believe Phil Spencer. He's a liar. Everything he says is a lie. Which is what they're saying right now about the profitability. Phil says it's profitable. These people are like, he's lying. Don't believe a word he says. But when he actually said something like they may have to raise prices on their console games or subscriptions, or that subscription growth has slowed down on console, they're out there with a tweet. They're out there saying, see, I told you Game Pass sucks. So they believe Phil when it suits their narrative or their agenda, but when he says something that doesn't, it's Phil lies. And the last thing I wanted to talk about was Activision Blizzard and Call of Duty. So per The Verge's Tom Moore and Spencer said today at WSJ Live that not only will Call of Duty be available on PlayStation, but he also wanted to bring it to Nintendo's hybrid device, which we already know about. They mentioned that originally, how they actually want to bring it to the Nintendo Switch. But Phil said, quote, Call of Duty specifically will be available on PlayStation. I'd love to see it on the Switch. I'd love to see the game playable on many different screens. Our intent is to treat Call of Duty like Minecraft, which is exactly how I referred to the franchise on Xbox 2 in my videos, that Microsoft is going to look at Call of Duty just like they look at Minecraft. It's a moneymaker, and they want it to become bigger, put it everywhere so that nothing can really compete against it in the same way that Minecraft is, and just rake in all that money from full game sales, but especially microtransactions and DLC. Still, the thorough line in Spencer's past statements has been that Xbox's goal is to bring games to as many people as possible on as many platforms as possible. He mentioned this again in the second half of his quote at WSJ Live, emphasizing what the goal of the Activision deal was for Xbox. Quote, this opportunity, the acquisition, is really about mobile for us. When you think about 3 billion people playing video games, there's only about 200 million households on console. And I don't really talk much about mobile on this channel because it doesn't really interest me, but Phil also talked about the idea of breaking into the mobile market, building a store to break the duopoly that Google and Apple have on the mobile market, and they're going to use Activision Blizzard and their content, especially King, to sort of help kickstart that. You want as many storefronts as possible so you get the competition, and a lot of people aren't happy with the current way that Apple runs its business model. Usually when people talk about this acquisition, they talk about it from the lens of the console perspective of it's Call of Duty, Call of Duty, Call of Duty, and certainly that's really the only thing PlayStation cares about. So it gets that hyper focus that Xbox bought, or Microsoft bought Activision Blizzard strictly for Call of Duty, when repeatedly Phil and others at Xbox have said, no, it was really about mobile because we had no presence, and mobile's the biggest segment of gaming in the world, and we need to be there. And then 2, the growth on PC is super important, and that's why you get Blizzard. You also get the whipped cream and cherry on top of that sundae, because you get the biggest console franchise right now in gaming with Call of Duty. Anyways, the video is turning out to be pretty long. I still have to edit this and get it out to you guys, but that's all the information. That's my takes on everything, and if you enjoyed it, make sure you hit that like button. Please subscribe if you're new. Check out the Patreon for the Xbox 2 podcast in the description of the video. Share this out on social media, and please hit that notification bell. Thank you guys so much for watching. I truly appreciate it, and I'll see you in the next video. Later.